there is something we can unanimously agree on no matter where you live in the world, inflation sucks. Going to the store to buy some cheese and seeing that the price increase just isn't that fun, man. It really hurts the pockets. But has inflation also infected the economy of our video games? Well, as a longtime fan of Call of Duty Zombies, let me tell you, inflation has taken over after hovering over our backs for so many years. So let me, Dougie, your money-spending financial advisor for Call of Duty Zombies, set the base foundation for you when it comes to talking about this topic within the game mode of Call of Duty Zombies. Firstly, we are only going to be talking about solo players since the numbers actually do change quite drastically when you have more than one player in your games. I will be listing the price of the physical games during the years they released, which is an extremely minor detail, but I thought it would be fun to include. As we analyze each of the Treyarch zombie maps, we are going to be looking at the total cost of doors, total cost of perks available in the map, wall weapons, pack-a-punch, and I'll also be including some minor details here or there when it comes to a zombies map, because there are other factors when it comes to zombie maps such as side Easter eggs available or just little tricks when it comes to saving money. But the main goal of me making this video is to help you, a Call of Duty Zombies player, find the cheapest, most inexpensive map that you can play on. Trust me, I swear I spent a lot of time making this video. And with all of these factors combined, I will give us our total for the base cost of what it will actually take to play that map. So let's begin. Before we really dive deep into things, let's talk about our classic OG point system. This is something important to talk about as also a base foundation, but it's not going to affect our total costs, but it's just important to know about. Shooting a zombie is 10 points. Killing them with a body shot is 70 points, and a headshot is 100 points, and also if you knife the zombie, it is 130 points. But there is something extremely important to note when it comes to Nocturne, Toten, Shinonuma, and Verrückt, and that is, there is a 24 zombie limit to the maps, meaning after round 5, the players are only able to kill 24 zombies per round. Let's put this into perspective. On round 10 in World at War, you would have killed 190 zombies and hypothetically accumulated, if you got all body shots and one-shot the zombies, 13,300 points, or 19,000 points if you headshotted all the zombies and killed them with one bullet. In Black Ops 1 zombies, or even on Duri, since they did get rid of the 24 zombie limit, on round 10 you would have killed 214 zombies, which then means you would have gotten 14,980 points with only body shot kills and assuming you're one-shotting them, or 21,400 points with headshot kills. Meaning World at War is already starting us off with an 11.21% decrease for body shot kills and headshot kills compared to Black Ops 1. Now, there are other factors as well, so take this with a grain of salt since we don't know how many double points drops we could have gotten in these hypothetical games, but stay with me here. As I said, this is just a side note when it comes to the actual game and how many zombies we get per round, which we aren't even including. This is just to also get our brains rolling because we're going to be talking about a lot of numbers. So actually diving into Nocturne Toten, both of these starting doors cost 1,000 points. The stairs creating the divide in the mystery box room also cost 1,000 points to open up, meaning to open up the entire map is 3,000 points. Not too bad. It's actually kind of crazy to think about how cheap it was to open up the first map. Also, the wall weapons in the starting room are 200 points for the Kar 98 and 600 points for the M1A1, with the most expensive gun on Nocturne Toten being the bar, which is 1,800 points, meaning the total cost to play Nocturne Toten is going to be 5,000 points. Hey, that's not too bad. Moving on to our next map and understanding our base foundation now, the total cost to open up Shinonuma's entire map is 9,000 points. Whew, that's a 200% increase in price compared to Nocturne Toten, which was 3,000. That's definitely going to hurt the pockets a bit. Now, the most expensive wall weapon is still the bar, which is 1,800 points, so that hasn't changed, but there are also perks we need to buy for ourselves now. Now, I understand that Mule Kick was added later into Nocturne Toten's life cycle, but we're just going to ignore that since it was an addition, and most importantly, we got to save those pennies and dollars. You know, it doesn't matter. If we don't need it, not going to buy it. And as I said, it was a later edition, so we're just not going to include that. During this time within Call of Duty Zombies, this is the cost of the perks as well. Quick Revive starts at 500 points, Jug costs 2,500 points, Speed Cola is 3,000, and Double Tap 1.0 and 2.0 is going to be 2,000 points. Meaning the total cost to buy every perk in Shinonuma is going to cost $8,000. Got it? Wait, there are dog grounds now? So if you didn't know this as well, there are actually no dog grounds in Nocturne Toten, which means every map going forward is going to hurt our wallets since there are significantly less things to kill and earn points with. Inflation is already hitting so hard, man. The total cost to play Shinonuma, by the way, is going to be $19,000. Whew, Verrucht, the freakiest map back in the day, and definitely gave me and a lot of other people nightmares. So with this map, let's just dive right into those numbers. The total cost to open the entire map of Verrucht is going to be $6,750, which isn't too bad. It's only just a bit above a 100% increase from Nocturne Toten. The total cost of perks is still being the same with $8,000, and the most expensive wall weapon is now 2,500 points with the bar plus bipod weapon you can buy off the wall in this tiny room. Shout out to NoAnnoyingCommentaryZ, since I don't actually have World at War Zombie, so I was looking at his gameplay when collecting my data, and also shout out to Heal Ender when it came to the wall buy. Links to their channels will be in the description below. It definitely made my research a little bit harder when I wasn't able to play the game. But let's move forward onto the final and most iconic map, Derice. Man, there's nothing like playing a good old game of Derice to bring me back to my younger days, but who cares if I'm old and dying? You're dying to find out these numbers, and I have a gripe against this because they added this machine, which is now going to be in every zombie map moving forward, the Pack-a-Punch. You can run from it, you can hide from it, but no matter how far you get, the Pack-a-Punch will always find your wallet to steal some money. And during this time, it only costs 5,000 points per usage. And just for this aspect alone, assuming people are Pack-a-Punching a minimum of at least one gun, there is now a baseline of 5,000 points, which also means Nocturne Toten is going to be our winner for the cheapest map in World at War. But just how expensive is it anyways to play Derice? The total cost to open all doors in Derice is 9,750 points. The cost of purchasing all perks is going to be 12,000 points with the addition of Mule Kick now being added to the map. The cheapest starting weapon is still going to be $200, and the most expensive wall weapon, the Bowie Knife, is going to cost a whopping $3,000, meaning the total cost to play Derice is going to be $29,950 total. Damn, that's crazy. And Nocturne Toten for all doors, cheapest wall weapons, most expensive wall weapons is $5,000. That makes Derice just about 6 times more expensive to play than Nocturne Toten. Well, I know where I'm going if I want to save some cash. But with World at War out of the way, let's move on to Black Ops 1, which definitely has some more well-known maps that people have played back in the day.
Nice.
Alright, we got no time to lose since there are still 34 maps to talk about. Oh my god, why did I even do this? We gotta remember as well, Pack-a-Punch is a base foundation, leaving every map and beyond setting a base standard of $5,000, assuming we Pack-a-Punch only one weapon to be cost effective and make our wallets happy. And also there is no avoiding special rounds, so you will lose some money from time to time depending on your luck, but at least we no longer have to worry about the 24 zombie limit since that is absolutely gone due to not having shitty code. So let's get started. The total price to purchase all doors within Kino der Toten is going to be $8,500, the total price for perks is going to be $12,000, and the cheapest and most expensive wall weapon is going to be the Olympia or M1911 being 500 points, and the Bowie Knife once again wins being the most expensive wall buy costing $3,000. But if you're curious about what the most expensive wall weapon is, that is going to be the Stakeout, which is going to cost $1,500, saving us $300 from the previous bar weapon. It would definitely be in our best interest anyways to use the gun, so going forward, let's save some money and get a gun instead. Kino der Toten's grand total is going to be $27,500 after Pack-a-Punch is included. Not too shabby. But let's move on to 5. I don't think 5 is a bad map, just as a kid with a peanut brain, it was a hard map. But playing something like Classified, which I do understand is in Black Ops 4, was actually a lot of fun and a good challenge. But enough yapping, here's the total cost of everything in this map. Total cost of doors is 10,000 points, total cost of perks is 12,000 points, the cheapest gun being the M14 or Olympia is going to be 500, and the most expensive wall weapon being the Stakeout again coming in at $1,500, making the total cost to play 5, $29,000 flat. Alright, now Ascension is actually really interesting because this is the first instance where we need to spend more money outside of just buying doors and guns as a base foundation, since we actually need to use these pods, or lunar landers. We need to purchase 3 lunar landers so we can open up Pack-a-Punch, which will also add some additional cost. Alright, so getting into the nitty gritty of things, here are the numbers. After opening all the doors within Ascension, our total cost is going to be $11,750. All perks in the map are going to cost $18,000. But hold on. We have the Wonder Fizz, which also costs 1,500 points. Hypothetically, if we were allowed to get all the perks on the map just by using the Wonder Fizz, that would cost us $1,200. Meaning we could save a whopping $6,000 just from that alone. Honestly, we take those. I'll allow it. Wall weapons are the same as before, being $500 for the cheapest and $1,500 for the most expensive, if we aren't including the sickle. Our grand total for Ascension is going to be $30,750. Even when cutting costs, that still means it's the most expensive to play so far. That's tragic. I know where I'm not going. Are you guys feeling the heat, by the way? I know I am, because it's time for Shangri-La. Definitely a lot of people's favorite maps for its iconic look and map layout, and it is just a banger of an Easter egg, so let's dive right in. Running around Shangri-La after purchasing all the doors in the map is going to cost a total of $8,000. After purchasing all the perks, it's going to cost $18,500. And this time there was no dedicated Wonder Fizz machine, meaning all the prices of the perks are sticking to their original prices, meaning we can't really cut any costs here. Cheapest wall weapon is $500, and the most expensive this time, which is the stakeout, costing $1,500. Meaning the total cost it would be to enjoy a casual game of Shangri-La is going to be $33,500. Even more expensive than Ascension. Like, damn. Looks like cutting costs from the Wonder Fizz machine is actually paying off. But just for fun, if there was a hypothetical Wonder Fizz machine within Shangri-La and we could buy every perk from it, it would cost $12,000, which is $6,500 we are saving, meaning the new total cost of Shangri-La would be $27,000. That means Shangri-La would have potentially been the cheapest map within Black Ops 1 so far, just competing with Kino der Toten by $500. But that's not the case anyways. If you wanted to play Shangri-La, it's going to cost a bare minimum of $33,500 anyways. We're going to the moon. Now you could say these prices are just out of this world. Man, I am so funny. I really do love Moon. I mean, I love all the Black Ops 1 maps, to be honest. I don't think I've said anything bad about them except for 5, and it's not even the game's fault. I was just bad at the time. So the cost to open all doors within a map like Moon would be $11,000. Cost of all perks is going to be $18,500. Cheapest wall weapon is $500, and the most expensive is the stakeout, again being $1,500. Meaning our grand total for the final Black Ops 1 map, with the addition of Pack-a-Punch being added onto our base total, is going to be $36,500. That price is so out of this world, it actually wins for being the most expensive map to play with in Black Ops 1. And that means Kino der Toten wins for being the cheapest map to play, setting a cheap and affordable price of $27,500. That's a difference of $9,000 you could save in your pockets if you were to make the proper choices in life. Speaking of making the proper choices in life, I spent $150 just to buy Black Ops 2 on PC. Please make this video worth it. This is an interesting case as well, since we not only need to build the turbine, which is our main power source, and then build the Pack-a-Punch, there are just a lot of weird things you could open or never open. But to keep things consistent, we're still going to open all the doors in the map no matter what. Also, you can double Pack-a-Punch in Call of Duty Black Ops 2, but it just changes the actual scope you're using on your gun, which is pretty worthless. But remember, we are trying to save money within this inflated economy, so anything that is unnecessary, we won't be doing. Oh Ted, how beautiful you are. Not to sidetrack, but it would have been crazy to see what Transit could have been without the hardware limitations of the Xbox 360 or PS3. I mean, it took not even 10 seconds for my PC to boot up the map, and don't get me wrong, I know Black Ops 2 is like 13 years old. I just think it would have been cool to see what Bus Route B would have been. Enough yapping. The total cost of doors within Transit is going to be $7,000. Cost of all perks is going to be $12,000, and that is including the new Tombstone perk, which we all know and love. And the cheapest weapon is $500, and the most expensive weapon being the AK-74U being $1,200. However, the Galvanuckles cost a whopping 6,000 points, completely blowing the Bowie knife and sickle out of the water by doubling the price. You could say those prices are shocking. With all that being said, the total cost to play Transit with these numbers combined and Pack-a-Punching at least one weapon are, drumroll please, $25,700. Not a bad starting point if I say so myself. And by the way, when we use the bus, we don't even have to pay Ted a fee. Transit is just a screaming deal. But with that being said, let's move on to Nuketown. Man, I do love playing a good game of Nuketown. However, things get a little bit complicated within this zombies map. Now, for all my years of playing zombies and my current experience even within Black Ops 2, and even when I was doing some research online, it seems like every perk cannot actually spawn into Nuketown since it's random each game. But unlike the perks, the Pack-a-Punch can and will spawn in every game if it comes in, even during the late 20s. So this is how I'm going to calculate the perks just as a hypothetical. Quick Revive, Juggernog, Double Tap, and Speed Cola. With these as our perks, that makes the total cost going to be $8,000, as well as Pack-a-Punching, which will be $5,000. Currently, the total is $13,000. If I do miss details or more perks can spawn, let me know down below. Also, with this door here we can open to buy a power-up, we don't really need that, so I'm not going to include that as well. But speaking of doors, the total cost of opening all the doors within Nuketown is going to be $12,000. The cheapest weapon is $500, and the most expensive is the Remington, which will be $1,500, making the total cost to play Nuketown Zombies $29,000 flat. Can you believe this tiny map costs almost $4,000 more than this enormous map? And we don't even get to ride around in a bus. This place really is the worst. Well, let's move on to Mob of the Dead, debatedly one of the most popular zombie maps of all time, right up there with Kino. Mob of the Dead is an all-time classic, and for many good reasons. The map flow is amazing, it's tough but not too tough, and the exploration and characters we get to play as are truly one of a kind that we never even get to see nowadays, even within the newer titles. So let's dive into the economy and see what it has to offer in terms of pricing. The cost to open all doors in this map is going to be $13,500. The cost of all perks within Mob of the Dead is going to be $12,000 since Electric Cherry is in the map now and not Stamina Up or Tombstone. The cheapest gun is 500 points while the most expensive is going to be $1,200, which could be the AK or the Tommy gun. In total, this makes Mob of the Dead's cost $32,500, a killer price indeed. Let's move on to the next DLC map, which I had a little too much fun with this map because there are so many factors that help reduce our total cost. But something that's important to mention is I don't know what numbers to go off of when Leroy rewards the players for destroying barriers within Buried, since in my game I got 410 points and I was looking at some online gameplay and someone got 420 points, someone in another video got 560 points. So for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to count all the barriers to be 300 points. A nice even playing field, which isn't too expensive, but it's not too cheap. There are 7 barriers as well within Buried, and there are also 6 chalk drawings. I still can't believe Call of Duty hasn't made a map similar or remastered Buried. It is one of my all-time favorite maps. There just isn't a map as fun and creative like it, and during my game where I was supposed to be buying and opening all the doors, I was literally stuck building everything I could in my game. I really just did have too much fun. Also, not to flex, but this is the first time I've played Buried in about 10 years, and on my first try, I was able to buy the LMG in the starting room. I had to flex that because I know how much people struggle to do it. But anyways, Buried is an interesting game as well since we actually get money back for completing certain tasks, such as doing the chalk drawings, getting our man Leroy to destroy the barriers. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, let's find out what our total cost is to play Buried. The cost to open all the doors within Buried is a low price of $8,000, and the cost to buy all perks is $17,000. And with the cheapest weapon, most expensive weapon, and the Pack-a-Punch, our total comes up to $33,000. However, we can take $8,100 off of this total price. $6,000 comes from doing the 6 chalk drawings we can place around the map, and the 7 barriers we can break throughout the map when we use Leroy, each barrier being priced at 300 points each, which brings down the total price to a staggering low cost of $24,900. We take those, baby. Alright, before we move on, I thought the well in the middle of the maze was a portal which would bring you back to the beginning. I thought it was, but I don't know why it didn't work, and I fell to my death. I wasn't even angry since I was done with the map anyway, so I just got a good laugh out of it. Die Rise made me die a lot. This map also offers no money back to the players, unlike Buried, so we get to relax our brains a bit from all the adding and subtracting for a minute. But with that being said, here are the numbers. The total cost for opening all the doors within Die Rise is $12,750. And the total cost of perks is going to be $14,000, and this is with Who's Who, which is $2,000. It really is a shame that we haven't seen this perk after this map. And also when it comes to the cheapest and most expensive gun, along with Pack-a-Punch being included in our total price, we get a whopping $33,450 to play Die Rise. Now that's a chunk of change. I think we already know who's going to be the winner in Black Ops 2, but let's talk about one final map which has changed zombies forever. And that is Origins. But even then, what else can I say that hasn't been said about Origins? Well, the economy, of course. Let's dive right in. But this is another interesting case where we actually get rewarded for completing tasks, such as the generators, which cost 200 points to complete, but rewards the players with 300 points upon completion, giving us 100 points profit, meaning we get 600 points for completing all the generators. I mean, we take those, I guess. Not as good as Buried, but what else can we get? Also, for those wondering, this is the 3rd map so far where we actually get a weapon for free, which, if you don't know, Transit has a jet gun, Die Rise has a Sliquifier, and Origins, we have the staffs. But I'm not going to disclude our most expensive weapons in this list just yet. Just to keep things fair and equal across all the maps, I think that would just be best for the consistency within Black Ops 2. After opening all the doors within Origins, we get a total price of $11,500. After buying each perk from the Wonder Fizz machine and saving some moolah, Claw, we get $12,000. Cheapest weapon is $500, and the most expensive weapon being the MP40, which is $1,300. This brings our final grand total price for Black Ops 2, which is going to be $30,300. But if we take 600 points off from the money we got back, the new price is $29,700. I mean, $600 is better than nothing though. That concludes Black Ops 2, and that means the cheapest map we can play is going to be Buried, which comes in at $24,900, and the most expensive map, which is Dire Eyes, which will be $33,450. I couldn't believe how many doors there were to open within that map. It is actually insane. Anyways, off to Black Ops 3, and this one is going to be interesting as well because there are other factors that cut the total cost for some of the maps. So let's dive into it. I don't know about you, but Shadows of Evil grew onto me like a virus. At first, I hated this map because of its difficulty, and then one day something in my brain said that this map is actually kind of goated. So more importantly as well when it comes to Shadows of Evil is we actually save money from multiple things. 1. Picking up the actual ritual stones. There are 2 keepers that spawn, and if you shoot one of them, you get 10 points, meaning in total, after picking up all 4 rituals, you get 8 keepers that spawn in, which will give us a total of 80 points. Well, who cares, right? Well, after completing a ritual, we also get 500 points back, meaning we get 2,000 points after completing all 4 of them. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, after we complete 2 rituals, a Margwa spawns in, which grants us a total of 1,500 points per Margwa, but also an extra 210 points from the 3 parasites we can also kill for free, each parasite being 70 points. But also, you can actually open up the Pack-a-Punch and get another 500 points from completing that ritual as well. And we even get another Margwa after opening the Pack-a-Punch, which is another 1,500 points along with another 210 points. We are just rolling in money before we even start, people. With all that combined, and just so I can keep track of my numbers until the end, we have 3 Margwas, which will give us 4,500 points, 9 parasites for 630 points, 80 points from the keepers, and 2,500 points for rituals. And with all this combined, we get 7,710 points we can deduct from our total. Okay, so let's begin. Also, you can include the shopping list, which is 500 points if you didn't know about that side Easter egg. We take free money where we can. The total cost for opening all the doors within Shadows of Evil will be $16,000. And if you're wondering why it costs so much, it's because in Black Ops 3, there are shortcuts you can open as well. And in Shadows of Evil, they are 1,000 points each. Cost of all perks in Shadows is going to be $18,000. It's a red herring, since it only has 7 available perks, unlike the rest of the maps, which have 9. Electric Cherry and Deadshot, which are missing from Shadows. And it sucks because there's also no Wonder Fizz within Shadows of Evil, so we can't really cut corners. Cheapest and most expensive gun is 500 points and 1,600 points, and the Pack-a-Punch, which is 5,000 points. Now, our total cost is going to be $41,100, but if we take the money we saved and subtract it, we get $32,890. Now, that is what we call inflation, people. Those numbers just keep on climbing. Alright, let's get into Der Eisen. Der Eisen blew the community out of the park in so many ways. The atmosphere, gameplay, and all the bows were just great additions. But how does it hold up when it comes to the cost? Cost of all doors is $12,750. Cost of all the perks coming from the Wonder Fizz machine is going to be $13,500. And the BRM, which is actually a wall buy, but a side Easter egg to complete, but I feel like it's important to include it anyways because it is a wall buy. It is $2,500, meaning Der Eisen comes in at a whopping $34,250. Truly, truly incredible. Now, funny enough with Zetsubo, you can actually get money back from doing the rituals when you're trying to unlock the Skull and Unsopway, and for the sake of saving money, and also because it seems the most logical, I will include this because originally, I wasn't going to include it for the fact it wasn't a main factor in unlocking the Pack-a-Punch or opening the map, but as I said, we need to save money where we can. We get 500 points from completing the ritual, and since there are 4 skulls to complete, we save $2,000. We would have gotten 2,500 points if the ritual to unlock the Skull and Unsopway counted, but that ritual actually doesn't give any points. And funny enough, we do actually get 10 points when we destroy this web for Pack-a-Punch. Total cost of doors is $13,750. Total cost of perks is $13,500, and the cheapest and most expensive weapon is $500 and $1,400, which means the total cost for Zetsubo no Shima is going to be $33,150. The total cost after we save the $2,000 will be $31,150. So apparently Zetsubo is the cheapest map so far. Who would have guessed? Not me. The doors are so cheap in solo, it's actually kind of crazy. Most of them are 750 points or 1,000 points. And did you even know that there is one shortcut within Zetsubo, which is located behind the gun where we shoot down the plane for the Easter egg? But anyways, here is the breakdown for how I actually got the total, if you're wondering. Just absorb all the information to your brain and let's move on. Grodd Crovey is an interesting map as well because I had to do some deep diving when it came to unlocking the Pack-a-Punch because of these modules. You put each of them into the machines, which spawns a pod out of the sky, and you need to defend the pods by killing zombies and do this 3 times to unlock the Pack-a-Punch. However, each pod requires the same amount of zombie kills, and let's just say we are pro gamers and we get headshots only to get the most amount of money. Also, while one-shotting the zombies for simplicity's sake, it takes 15 zombies to complete one pod, which will be 1,500 points if we get headshots only. And also, we get 50 points for completing a pod. In total, we get to save $4,650 and deduct that from our final total. So let's find out about the cost of everything else. Total cost of doors is $11,500. Total cost of perks is $13,500. And the cheapest and most expensive wall weapon is going to be $500 and $1,600. Meaning the total price for Grodd Crovey is going to be $32,100. And if we use the money to reduce the total cost, we can actually get a total price of $27,450. Damn! Brings me back to the Black Ops 1 days when things are so cheap. It is also crazy to think about how cheap Grodd Crovey is in comparison to Der Eisendrache, which that total was $34,250. That's a difference of $6,800. Alright, into the final map within Black Ops 3, which is Revelations. A map like Revelations is an interesting one because it's a throwback to so many maps. It can definitely make you feel nostalgic depending on what you used to play back in the day, but this is also another map where we can save 2,000 points from opening up the rooms that lead to Nocturne Toten. And we need to do this anyway since this is how we get to Pack-a-Punch. Cost of all doors is $11,250. Cost of all perks is $13,500. Most expensive and least expensive gun is $500 and $1,600, making the grand total of Revelations coming up to $31,850. But if we take off the money we have, we actually get $29,850. And with that being said, congratulations, we have finally gathered all the information we need to know what is going on to be the most expensive map to play and least expensive map to play within Black Ops 3. So let's see what we're working with. The winner for the most expensive map is going to be Der Eisendrache, coming in at $34,250, and the cheapest map we can play is going to be Revelations, coming in at $29,850. I need to give a fair warning for Black Ops 4, so let me explain. I am currently live streaming and completing all the Easter eggs in Black Ops 4 for the first time since I've never actually beaten them before. Last month I actually beat Blood of the Dead for the first time and it was a nightmare to do. Right now I'm completing 9 and I've never actually touched any of the other maps before, and I'm going into these maps with custom mutations on just so I could get this video done faster. And I noticed that in mutations the prices actually changed, and I know that because when I was playing 9, the price for one of the doors was $2,250 instead of my regular solo game of $2,000. So take Black Ops 4 with a grain of salt is all I'm saying. Blood of the Dead is a fun, tough map, but at first when it came out, I hated it. But playing it on stream was such a fun challenge that I literally was shaking during the boss fight. I cannot explain to you the last time a game had me shaken up this bad. But as we progress through Blood of the Dead, we actually have a couple wardens we need to kill, and each warden grants 780 points, and there are exactly 2 of them we need to kill. One is when we get to the other side of the catwalk, which is optional if you aggro him, but this is just a faster way to get the warden's key. So we will be taking that. And the other one is when we hit the second power switch, granting us a total of $1,560. We can take that off our total at the end, so let's find out what we actually need to pay to play for Blood of the Dead. Also, the perk system is changed within Black Ops 4, and I found this chart here on Reddit for all the costs of the perks as well as their modifier costs, and for the sake of seeking money, who cares how long I live for? At the end of the day, I care about money. So the cheapest perks are going to be Time Slip, which is $1,500 unmodified, Secret Sauce, which is $1,500 unmodified again, Quick Revive, which will be $2,500 modified, and Stamina Up, which will be $2,000 unmodified. And for those who don't know, you can only have one modified perk, which is why I chose Quick Revive, since if you look at this chart, it is the same cost as Secret Sauce when modified, but we can save 500 points if we just keep Secret Sauce on modified. The total cost of our perks throughout each of our games is going to have the same base value of $7,500. Also, in Black Ops 4, I found that I never buy a starting weapon. Our starting pistols are just so powerful sometimes, I just main it throughout my run. So for that reason, we're going to only add the most expensive wall weapon, and pack-a-punching once. You can pack-a-punch up to 5 times for maximum damage, but as I said before, we don't care about living, we care about money. So the total cost of all doors within Blood of the Dead is going to be $19,500. Alright, let's take a breather. With that being said, Blood of the Dead's total is going to be $33,500, and after reduction, the price is going to be $31,940. Alright, let's move on. Classified is a paid DLC map you could get from launch, and it's pretty fun. I did enjoy it quite a lot, and if you want to see me complete the Easter egg in Black Ops 4, make sure to subscribe and stay notified for when I go live. Anyways, here are the cost of all doors, which is $14,250. Perks are going to be the same, $7,500, and the most expensive gun is $1,550. And something to note, which I already did include in the price to all doors, is we need to use 2 elevators. This is so we can at least turn on the power, and after that, we never have to use them again. This was $500 per use, and we had to use this to go down to the main DEF CON area, and the other elevator took us to the labs, which we actually had to go when it came to turning on power. Here is the total cost to play Classified, which is $28,300. Not too shabby if I say so myself. 9 is a banger of a map. I love the atmosphere and the Easter egg. Here are the prices. Total cost of doors is $19,000. Cost of all perks is going to be the same of $7,500. And the most expensive gun is $1,450, which is the KN, which gives us a total price of $32,950. However, we do save money from fighting the champions, but there is definitely something confusing about it. So killing the barbarians don't actually give us like 100 to 200 points, just increments of 10 to 20 points per bullet. But killing the lions with headshots is 100 points. And then the drop we get after defeating the champions grant us 500 points, giving us 2,000 total, which means with the 4 lions we killed as well, we get a total of 2,400 points we can deduct, making the actual price of 9 $30,550. Alright, let's move on to Voyage of Despair. And after we hit an iceberg, prices have flown through the roof. But how much, you might ask? Well, let's find out. Cost of all doors is going to be $13,500. Cost of all perks is going to be $7,500. And the most expensive gun is $1,550, which is the ICR-7. Total cost to play Voyage of Despair is going to be $27,550. But let me tell you, running around this map was so confusing. I know I'm new to this map, but I mean, having it inside of a ship and it being so large, I just found myself running in circles so many times. But overall, it's not too bad of a price compared to everything else I said before. So let's move on to Ancient Evil. Ancient Evil looks like a fantastic map. I literally can't wait to play it on stream once I get there. But let's find out if even the ancient Greek gods have been ramping up those prices. Total cost to open all doors is $15,000. Total cost of perks is $7,500. And the most expensive weapon is still $1,550 in price, and the grand total to play a map like Ancient Evil is going to be $29,050. Let's move on to Alpha Omega. It's interesting how throughout the games as well, there usually is one map that costs so much more than the rest, while the others stay around the same price points. Let's see if this is going to be consistent throughout the final 3 maps within Black Ops 4. Also, once we turn on power, we have a couple of electric dogs we need to kill, each granting us 100 points if you get headshots. There were 3 dogs in my game, and this was for solo, giving me 300 points to deduct from my final total. Also, you have zombies and Nova Crawlers to kill in the main facility underground. They only give you 10 points per kill, and just for research purposes, let's say we get 100 points total, which would leave us 400 points to take off our final amount. Total cost of doors is $14,500, total cost of perks is $7,500, and the most expensive gun is going to be $1,550 again, meaning the total price to play Alpha Omega will be $28,550, but once we take away $400, this will be $28,150. What a difference. Go Alpha Omega. If there is one thing I must say about Black Ops 4 Zombies, it has some of the best looking maps when you just walk around. The lighting engine just leaves me in awe because a map like Dead of the Night being inside of this mansion is so beautiful, and walking around and unlocking the Pack-a-Punch was just incredible. I can't believe I missed out on this era. Now, in Dead of the Night, to unlock Pack-a-Punch, it actually takes 4 zombies to fill one of the 3 crystals. Hypothetically, if we were to get 4 headshots, that would grant us 400 480 points, and doing that 3 times would grant us 1,440 points to deduct from our total, meaning, well, actually before that, total cost of doors is 13,250 points, total cost of perks is 2,500 points, and the most expensive gun is 1,550 points. And with our deductible, the true final price of Dead of the Night is $25,860. Not too shabby. Tag der Toten, the last map within Black Ops 4 Zombies. So let's try and end things off on a strong note to see if inflation is really looming over our backs within this franchise. Total cost of doors is $28,000, total cost of perks is $7,500, and the most expensive gun will still be $1,550, meaning the total price to play Tag der Toten is going to be $42,050. The most expensive map in the series so far. $28,000 just for opening up all the doors? Who knew it would get so expensive due to inflation? Anyways, let's move on to the final game in the series, Black Ops 6. And if you're wondering why I'm skipping out on Cold War, me personally, I feel like the game was just half-baked ideas, and to be honest, I just didn't like any of the maps past D Machine. Everything just felt so boring and bland, and where at least in Black Ops 6, I did stop playing after the tomb, but it was the same reason why I quit Black Ops Cold War. Anyways, I don't mean to complain, let's just get into Liberty Falls. Now, Black Ops 6 is interesting because there are a ton of side Easter eggs that reward the players with points. However, I'll only be talking about the side Easter eggs in Liberty Falls, Terminus, Citadel, and I don't think there are that much in the Tomb or Shattered Veil or the Reckoning. I just never got too deep into those maps to find out for myself. Also, something to note in Black Ops 6, since we can choose any starting weapon, you technically don't need to buy wall weapons anymore. At least I never did during my time playing the game, and I have a couple hundred hours of playtime, so just as a counter to balance things out, we need to fully pack-a-punch our weapon as a base, which is going to be 50,000 points, as well as only getting perks available on the map, which I will speak more about shortly. Liberty Falls has a variety of side Easter eggs, and even some revolving around getting a perk. There is this Deadshot perk, the bowling ball Easter egg, dancing Easter egg, falling zombies. So let's just get into it. The Easter egg where we get free points, well, gives us free 500 points. The bowling ball Easter egg, to put it in simple terms, is just us playing a game of bowling. But a perfect game of bowling is 300 points, which is really hard to achieve actually. Hypothetically, because we're pro gamers, let's say we get that perfect game and nothing else. I think you can also get a free perk as a reward as well, but let's just ignore that, just for consistency. The falling zombie rewards us with points, and we can get 1,000 points in total if you collect all the essence in time. There are some other Easter eggs as well, but sometimes the rewards can change, so we are just going to use the Easter eggs I talked about to help save us some money. And we can save $1,800 in total. I'm sure that's going to put a dent in our 50k base foundation. Also, when it comes to perks within Black Ops 6, they increment by 500 points after each purchase, meaning we need to spend a lot of money to get all the perks in one map. Let's just make it so you can only purchase those perks within that specific map, meaning we're only going to talk about the perks within Liberty Falls, which is Quick Revive, Stamina Up, Juggernog, PhD, Speed Cola, and Bootleg Slappy Taffy, meaning in Liberty Falls it's going to cost us $22,500 to buy all the perks. Cost of all doors is $16,200, meaning to play Liberty Falls, holy man, it's going to cost us $88,700, and with the $1,800 it is $86,900. Terminus also has several Easter eggs, but most important ones being the crab Easter egg, the mini boat race, and the point Easter egg. Alright, so let's get into this one at a time. The point Easter egg is just like Liberty Falls, granting the player 500 points. The crab whack-a-mole Easter egg can actually give the players a free perk if done successfully, and also 1,000 essence if you complete the other set of crabs. There is also another way to get a free perk if you kill a zombie in this cage, come back another round, kill the vermin, or whatever they change to. The last thing you'll need to kill is the mangler, and once you kill that, you'll get the free perk. Now, this boat Easter egg is definitely interesting since the points you can get vary depending on how well you perform during the minigame. I've seen a lot of people online getting salvage, guns. It just really seems inconsistent to be a viable method of points, so for that reason, I'm not going to include the side Easter egg. Alright, so let's talk about perks. Now, there is an additional perk added to Terminus, which is going to be Elemental Pop, but also having the Deadshot perk machine added onto the map. So this is how I'm going to count the perks, as well as deducting just the 2 random perks we get for free. The total cost of perks, having one new one introduced to the map, is going to be $34,000. Cost of all doors in the map is going to be $11,750, and the the total cost to play Terminus is going to be $95,750. However, with the 2 free perks and 1,500 points, we can save a new total that is going to be $88,750. Now that's a $7,000 difference, which is really interesting to think about. Alright, on to Citadel, the first DLC map in Black Ops 6, and you will be shocked about the price of this map. Perks are $34,000, and if you're wondering why the perk price is the same, that's because in Citadel they removed PhD, but there is the new revamped Vulture. Doors is $16,750, and there were a couple of shortcuts as well which costed $1,000 each to open. In total, this map came in at a whopping $100,750. Damn. Alright, since this video is getting pretty long, we're going to speedrun the last couple maps. So here's the breakdown for the Tomb. Total cost of doors is $15,000. Total cost of perks is $28,500. And these are also the perks available on the map if you're wondering. And the total cost it would be to play the Tomb is going to be $93,500. However, there is also a side Easter egg to get a free perk. And I'm just going to assume there will always be one side Easter egg to get a free perk in each of the future DLC maps. Meaning we also get to save 2,500 points, which will set our new total for the Tomb to be $91,000. Shattered Veil. Total cost of doors is $10,500. Total cost of perks is $33,500. And these are the perks available on the map if you're wondering. In Shattered Veil as well, you can repair the elevator, and there are going to be zombies that spawn in that you can actually get points from, but we only get a total of 6 zombies, and you only get 10 points per zombie kill, meaning we save $60 from our total cost. Total cost to play Shattered Veil is going to be $94,000 flat, minus 1 free perk and $60, which will be $91,440. Alright, on to the last and final map. And I didn't play it, but I have it since it's free, and that's The Reckoning. So let's get into it. All the perks available on this map is going to cost $47,500, and here are the list of perks. Total cost to open all the doors is $14,250, and the total cost to play The Reckoning is going to be $111,750. And here is the cost with our 1 free perk, which is going to be $109,250, meaning the least expensive map competing with Terminus is going to be Liberty Falls, coming in at $86,900. And the most expensive map, which is going to wreck your wallets, is The Reckoning, coming in at $109,250. So how much has inflation increased over the years? Alright, so now the main point of this video is, now that we have calculated the total cost of expensive maps and the cheapest maps as well, let's compare the games throughout the years and actually calculate the percentage of how they've increased from game to game. And we are going to be calculating the cheapest maps as well, since we are on a budget. So the inflation increase from going from Nocturne Toten, which was $5,000, to Keener to Toten, which was $27,200. There's actually a formula we can use to calculate this. And here's the formula on screen. So just in one game alone with the cheapest map, we got a 444% increase, which is just astronomical. But let's compare Kino to Buried, which is the cheapest map in Black Ops 2, coming in at a price of $24,900. Using the same formula, we're going to have to do 24,900 minus 27,200, which will give us negative 2,300. Negative 2,300 divided by 27,200 is going to be negative 0.08456. And times that by 100, we are going to get negative 8.46. It actually got cheaper from Black Ops 2 compared to Black Ops 1 due to the amount of money we can save within a map like Buried. And I know negative percentage may not seem like a whole lot of sense, but in this case, it means that inflation didn't actually happen between Black Ops 1 to 2. It actually got cheaper. And for Black Ops 3's cheapest map, we got Revelations coming in at $29,850, meaning when we use the same formula again and crunch the numbers, we get a 19.88 increase in price. Ah, damn, that didn't last long. Well, at least it's a whole lot better than a 400% jump we got from World at War to Black Ops 1, I guess. So Black Ops 3 to Black Ops 4 is Dead of the Night, coming in at $27,300, and we get a negative 8.55 decrease when we go from $29,850 to $27,300. Once again, we're saving some money. Things are pretty good. But from Black Ops 4 to Black Ops 6, oh my god, we get a 218.3% increase in price when we compare Liberty Falls to Dead of the Night. Wow, by god, if that isn't inflation, I don't know what is. Well, what are your thoughts about a concept like this? If you made it to the end of the video, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I spent far too much time on a video like this. I did not think it would take me literally 3 days to make this script just to find all the numbers to calculate to play the game. But if you enjoy a video like this, please let me know down below. I will gladly make more videos like this if you enjoy numbers and just different kind of aspects when it comes to Call of Duty Zombies. Thank you again for watching. Catch you later.